My plan for this video was to talk about the best games from the PC gaming show. After watching that show, I realized that a ton of other game shows happened this week, and then I decided to go through all of them. All the shows that I watched are listed on screen right now. The total was roughly 32 hours of footage that I worked through. Based on that, I will tell you the titles that I think are worth taking a look at or worth looking forward to in 2020 and some also in 2021. We have a lot to work through, so let's get started. 2020 Action Games. Mafia Definite Edition Trilogy is coming out on the 28th of August for Steam, Xbox One and PS4. The Definite Edition is a rework of the GTA-style Mafia setting series, and you can buy all 3 titles in a bundle or choose to buy them separately. Another complete rework, and don't worry, there won't be too many of those, coming out on July 28 this year is Destroy All Humans. It's an open world action game in which you play an alien and you're destroying humans. For that you can use various tools, weapons and your mind depending on what you prefer. And the game will be coming out for PC, Xbox One and PS4. There's currently a demo on Steam that allows you to test out the game if you like, something that will be the case for quite a few games here as we go down the list. The next game is Ghostrunner, a cyberpunk-esque hack and slash that seems to rely heavily on platforming and fast movement. This game will come out at some point in 2020 and will be released on Steam, PS4 and Xbox One. Multiplayer games in 2020. New World, Amazon's first attempt at an MMO, will release on the 25th of August. This game, in my opinion, doesn't look super clean so far. The graphics are honestly surprisingly weird. But at the same time, there's some interesting potential here for really massive scale battles due to the fact that this runs on Amazon servers and they have direct control over that. I know that didn't go so well with Crucible on the first days, but now we can actually see the full server potential there as well. And they are a bit ahead of the competition in that regard, which I think could work pretty well for an MMO. That brings us to one of my personal favorites, Midnight Ghost Hunt. I knew about this game for a while, but now we're getting some more trailers for it, and the alpha is planned to start in July, so we'll have a chance to have a closer look at it very, very soon. The game is essentially a pimped up Gmod prop hunt, and I think the premise here is very promising. One team takes on the role of Ghostbusters and tries to hunt down ghosts, the other team are the ghosts and fight back. In order to do that, they can possess various objects, which A, serve as a tool to hide, and B, apparently also as a tool to fight. Midnight Ghost Hunt will only be on Steam for now. Star Wars Squadrons is a game that I think I should mention for Star Wars fans or people who like playing dogfight games. It comes out on PC, PS4 and Xbox One later this year. And it does seem to come with some interesting concepts for combat as well that almost resemble that of a MOBA. It's not for me, but it may be interesting for you. And speaking of MOBAs, no, this game is not a MOBA. This is Corepunk, which is a top-down MMORPG. It introduces some concepts that we normally know from other formats like Fog of War, for example. So it could be very interesting how this game actually develops and how it finds its place in the MMO world. The beta for this game will release in 2020 and unfortunately it's only on PC. The last multiplayer here is Chivalry 2, which is one of those medieval hack and slash games. We had a few of those. It's coming out for PS4 and PS5, Epic Games, Xbox One and Xbox Series X, so they're hitting all the new platforms as well. And I am putting this on the list even though I'm a little bit skeptical about the current development of the game, but we'll see where it goes. Platformer. There's only one here, and that is Super Meat Boy Forever, which is intended to now release in 2020 for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, iOS, Android, Microsoft Windows being Epic Store, and Steam in 2021, and Linux. It's the type of platformer that makes you want to make a rage montage about it. You've been warned. 2020 RPGs. Kena Bridge of Spirits. This game kind of came out of nowhere with the PS5 announcement. In essence, it's a story-driven role-playing game, but actually seems to implement some unique mechanics, especially with these fluffy things that you see here that will help you in your adventure. It also comes with a very charming visual style, so I think that's a bonus. The game will be coming out around holiday 2020 on PS4, PS5 and on the Epic Games Store. Equally out of nowhere for me was Godfall. Godfall comes out for PC and PS5 around holiday 2020 as well, and this game looks really interesting. It is an RPG slasher, I would say, which combines those classic RPG elements like itemization with the combat style of a slasher game. It was presented as a very new format. I don't think it's necessarily new. I think it's somewhat similar to, for example, Darksiders 2, but I love that format, so this game may be right up my alley. Mortal Shell. This seems like the most Souls-like game you can get without actually buying an actual Souls game. It's a relatively small dev studio, so we'll see how this goes, but chances are if you like Dark Souls, this might be worth taking a look for you. The game will be going into beta on the 3rd of July. They will inform everyone on their Discord about that in more detail. And then in the third quarter of 2020, the game will release on Epic, Xbox One and PS4, and a Steam release is planned at a later point. Not a surprise with this game because it was already announced a while ago, and that's Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Basically, Assassin's Creed as we know it, but in a Viking setting. And honestly, I'm getting more vibes of the Viking show from this than I'm getting Assassin's Creed vibes. And I have been very opposed to the Assassin's Creed series for a long time because I think they should have finished the whole concept after 3 games. But at this point I get it, they want to sell with the name, but this game might genuinely be good based on the fact that it's a Viking themed game. Valhalla will be coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Google Stadia and Microsoft Windows. For this next game we didn't get a new trailer, but we got a small new teaser of a character, and that is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. A horrible name, to be honest. It's a story-driven RPG in which you play a vampire, and the game has a very heavy focus on dialogue, which can change a lot of the outcomes of the game. The game is planned to release this year for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One and Xbox Series X. The last super predictable title here is Cyberpunk 2077, which is a cyberpunk role-playing game in which you also have a lot of shooter elements, a lot of mix of other genres by the makers of The Witcher. That's all I have to say, really. The game will be coming out on the 19th of November 2020, if they don't delay it again, and it's planned to release for Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Google Stadia and Microsoft Windows. Shooters. We're now moving back into less familiar territory, and the first one here is Rocket Arena. This game is, well, basically an arena game where the focus is on rockets, but you also have other abilities depending on your character. It's interesting because the Rocket Arena concept was initially one that strips down a lot of extra mechanics and puts it down to just using rockets, and now other aspects are added to this mechanic instead. I am skeptical about the potential of this game because I think it's super niche, especially since the gameplay seems to be 3v3 as well, but who knows, it might be fun for a while. The game will come out on the 14th of July on Steam, Origin, Xbox One and PS4 with crossplay between all those platforms enabled, and that is something that I think will work very well for this particular format. And then we have a title that will definitely bring up some memories for those of you who've been playing for quite a while, and that is Serious Sam 4. Didn't think that's a name I would ever hear again, but the shooter that's focused on mowing down hordes of demons is back, and the plan is to release it in August 2020 on Steam as well as Stadia, and then a console release in 2021. And as we're already getting into throwback territory, let's bring back an entire throwback category. Skate. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remaster will be coming out on the 4th of September on PS4, Xbox One and Epic. The game promises to basically rebuild both of the games from scratch, so I think it could definitely be worth checking out, even if you're new to the genre or if you just want to be brought back to simpler times. But that is not the only skating game that's coming back. We had a very brief announcement of the Skate series coming back with Skate 4, or maybe that's not going to be the title. But either way, it is being worked on, but we have no idea when it will release. However, there is yet another Skate game, and that is Skater XL. As far as I was able to find, this game is planned to release in July. If that's the case, it might be a good warm-up for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater later. And while it may not be the most graphically impressive game, there is some interesting underlying stuff here. First of all, the game will be coming out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and on Steam as well, so quite a few options there. And the game is less of just a skating game, but labels itself more as a skating simulator. And what I found very interesting is that the controls are actually different, and you actually apparently control the feet with the analog stick. So one analog stick is for each of the feet, and the tricks are apparently, if I got that right, also done by using those analog sticks instead of doing direct button inputs, which could make for some very interesting mechanics, because apparently you basically have to figure out how to do the tricks yourself that way. I am worried that it might be a bit too ambitious and may not feel intuitive, but we'll have to see. Either way, I think it sounds interesting. Strategy. Evil Genius 2 will make its way to Steam in 2020, even though we don't know when exactly that will be. The game is about building up an evil empire, hiring all kinds of assistants that you will then send out on missions for you to collect resources and everything, and use that to expand your base and of course also your defenses. Stronghold Warlords takes the Stronghold series into a Far East setting, and as usual you will control large armies in this very combat-heavy strategy game. The planned release is on the 30th of September, with the platforms being PC, primarily Steam, as well as Mac. And speaking of familiar RTS titles, Total War gets a new entry as well, Total War Troy, which focuses on the Bronze Age. What's very notable about this one is that when it launches on the 13th of August on Epic Games Launcher, it will literally be free for 24 hours. After that you have to buy it, but if you get it within the first 24 hours, you will get the game entirely for free and you don't have to pay anything later. So maybe worth checking out just for that if you have the Epic Games Launcher. Survival. And by the way, all of them are also multiplayer. Grounded, a survival game that shrinks you down to the size of an insect and makes you survive in your own garden. This game comes with a story mode as well as a multiplayer mode and allows you to switch between first and third person as well. I can't really say how good or how deep the game will be, but there is a demo available right now on Steam that you can play for free. The game will release on the 29th of July for both Xbox One and Steam. The Survivalists, fitting name for the genre. A top-down pixel art, I would say Don't Starve-esque game that will be released in 2020. The game also sets itself apart from Don't Starve through the setting being a lot more of a vibrant island. And that brings me to my favorite unexpected name on the list here. This game was absolutely not on my radar at all, and at first glance I thought, wow, this is absolutely not for me, but then when looking deeper into it, I was actually really excited. And that is Drake Hollow. Now if you see the first glimpses of Drake Hollow, you'll probably think Fortnite. And while the visual style definitely leans onto that and some of the mechanics possibly also do, the game is most certainly not like Fortnite's Battle Royale mode. If anything, it has some resemblance to the single player mode. Overall, it almost seems closer to a third-person Don't Starve Together though. You have various survival mechanics, you have to fend off enemies, and you slowly build up your village. In this village, however, you have little drakes that will support you in various ways, and you have to bring them things to keep them happy and to keep them nourished, essentially. So there are a lot of mechanics that you have to pay attention to. The game also has a very unique travel method where you go on these crystal lines above the tree line once you have built that route once, and it allows you to get from A to B quicker if it's a path you often take. And that was what actually first caught my eye. I think it looked like a really interesting mechanic. And again, this game is also a multiplayer game. You can play on your own, but you can also play with friends. If this game is interesting to you, you don't even have to wait long. Drake Hollow will release on the 17th of July on Steam, as well as Xbox One and apparently the Microsoft Store as well. The last survival game here is the only one that is not a multiplayer. Among Trees is a single player survival game. It's actually available right now on the Epic Games Launcher already. But what I found very interesting and intriguing about this game is the art style. In fact, I think it's one of the main selling points of the game, and I think the designers know that, which is why they created a Zen mode specifically without aggressive enemies, so you can just roam and look at the sky in peace, because it just looks so nice. While Among Trees is only available on Epic Games at the moment, they do mention in the FAQ that they're considering a PlayStation release and a Mac port in the future. turn-based. Only one game here, and that is Baldur's Gate 3. A turn-based RPG that you can actually play entirely turn-based if you want, or you can make it so that just the combat is turn-based, and apparently if you want to be sneaky, it's recommended to use the turn-based feature a little bit more. I am a little bit skeptical when it comes to this one, but we'll have to see. Early access is planned for August 2020, as long as they can get all the motion capture in time. With everyone working from home still, it's kind of a bit more complicated. 2021 releases. Now with these ones we're going to be a little bit more rapid fire, not go into too much detail because who knows how many of them actually release in 2021. But we're going to go through them anyway so you know what you can potentially look forward to. Guilty Gear Strive, finally a new fighting game coming out for PC and PS4. Resident Evil Village, the next Resident Evil, coming out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and PC. Dead Static Drive, also described as Grand Theft Cthulhu, a PC, Linux and Xbox One horror survival GTA or something. The Outlast Trials, the next Outlast title, and it's a 4-player co-op. So far only PC is confirmed. Demon's Souls remake, maybe this year, maybe next year. Either way, only for PS4 so far. Horizon 1 Dawn, Forbidden West. Also only PS4, likely next year. And I saved the best for last, Tribes of Midgard, coming out 2021 on Steam and PS4. A Viking survival game that again looks somewhat like Don't Starve. It does have some differences, like for example you're starting with a bit of a base, and I actually hope they change that. I actually hope that you have to build up the base instead, and is a lot more combat focused overall. Looks really cool, has a lot of potential in my opinion, hopefully this goes well. And that is it. This video took me way longer than expected, but we're finally here. If you enjoyed this, I would much appreciate if you shared this video with your friends, because for once it's actually something that people outside of Smite may be interested in. If you're new to the channel, hit the sub button and maybe the bell, if you want to get notified of future videos, more Smite content, and also content about quite a few of these games that I have talked about today. Other than that, I hope to see you for the next one soon. Duke Sloth, out.